Let's get started on the widget method. Now again, remember, this is what's going to be responsible for echoing out the necessary data in HTML. As we learned in a previous lesson, it will accept the arguments as well as the instance. The arguments is going to be things like before widget, before title, and this is where the theme developer can specify what HTML, whether it's a div or an H2 tag or an H3 tag. That gives them the control they need because you should not take that out of their hands. You're the plugin developer, not the theme developer. You don't handle styling. So let's go ahead and extract these args. And you don't have to do this, but it's easier for me and I find it to be a little more readable. Because we have a title input here, we can now access that value via the title variable because we extracted it. So let's set a default. We definitely want a default there. And I'm going to say if empty title. In that case, let's set a default to recent tweets. Next, let's get started with the Twitter functionality. But we don't want to clutter up our widget method too much. So why don't we abstract this away to its own method? And this method is going to return the tweets, presumably. So we'll store that in something called data. This Twitter. And this method, of course, is going to need to receive the tweet count as well as the username. Now, if you're wondering right here, where are these variables coming from? Remember, they're coming from the instance. If it would help you, let's print R that one more time and load the page. And here we can see there is the instance, and that's equal to each of the inputs. So notice title, username, tweet count. Title, username, tweet count. That's how we have access to them. And then when we extract them, these are now available as variables. Hopefully that makes more sense. So now we're passing through the number of tweets the user wants to retrieve as well as the username of the Twitter account. Let's create that method now. Now we could do public, but I don't foresee anyone ever taking advantage of this method. It's going to be exclusive to this class. So with that in mind, I'm going to set it to private. And this function is called Twitter. It accepts the tweet count as well as the username. And the first thing I want is we have to be sure that there is a username, because if username is blank, then we're going to be querying the Twitter API needlessly and nothing is going to be returned. So we'll do that right now. If empty username, then return immediately, or you can return false. Either one will be fine. Get out of there. Don't do anything because we have nothing to work with. Next, we need to query the Twitter API. Now, we learned in the shortcode episode, I showed you a manual curl way to create a curl function. But WordPress can make this much more simple, and we'll take advantage of the WP remote get method. But I'm going to, again, abstract this away to its own method for convenience, and I'll demonstrate more why we're doing that shortly. Private function fetch tweets. Again, fetch tweets is going to need these values, tweet count, as well as the username. So let's get started. Tweets equals, in this method or function, WP remote get, requires one parameter, and that's going to be, what is the URL? I'll enter that right now, and note that I'm substituting the username that the person types in to the Twitter widget right here. So let's see what is returned now. I'm going to print R tweets. Now, this function needs to be called, so we'll do it manually. Tweets, like so. Come back, and I'm going to refresh the page, and now we have this massive array. We can see that we have some header information. Now we also have this body key, and this is really what we want. WP remote get will return headers, but we really want the contents of that JSON feed. So let's see that now. I'm going to print R tweets body. And if I refresh the page, now we have something a little more familiar. We have each of our tweets as well as data about it. But now we need to be able to work with it in PHP. So we would want something like JSON decode, as we did in the Twitter shortcode episode. Try it again. And now we have something far more familiar. If I search for text, we can see here, this is what we need to grab the text of each tweet. So I will copy all of that and we'll say tweets now equals JSON decode. There we are. Now the first step is, if there is a problem, if for some reason we've gone over our API limit or something is not returned, it's not going to return false. This method will not return false. Instead, it is going to return an object, but it'll contain a error property. So why don't we test for that? And we can say if is set tweets error, in that case, return false. There was a problem. This property will only exist if there was a problem, and in that case, we have nothing left to do. We can't move forward, so we need to go ahead and return false, like so. Otherwise, we're all set to continue. Next, we want to create a for each statement to go through all of those tweets. For each tweets as tweet, echo tweet text. Let's see what we have here. Refresh. And now at the top, you can see we have an endless string of all of our tweets, as you can see right there. Okay, good. But we don't want to echo this simply out. We obviously want to store it within an array because remember, we are providing the WordPress administrator the ability to specify how many tweets to display, not simply 20 or 25. So let's keep that in mind. Let's come back, and we have the number specified in tweet count. So what if every time we go through this for each statement, we said if tweet count minus minus equals 0, in that case, break out of the for each statement and don't continue on. Let's try that out and then we'll explain it more. Here we have roughly 10. Let's change that to something more recognizable, 1. And sure enough, now we're only getting 1. So why is this working? And it's because this is equal to what they type in. So let's say they type in 5. Okay, well, we go through the for each statement and we say, does 5 equal 0? No. And then minus minus means subtract the number by 1. So then we echo out a tweet, and then we go through it again. Now tweet count is 4. Does 4 equal 0? No. Reduce it by 1. And this will continue and continue until this is true, in which case we break out of this statement. Good.